Our job was to take that mountain, my battalion. We're hunkered down in the rocks at the base of Mount Suribachi, and of course they came out of pillboxes. Now on the left was Easy Company, I'm Dog Company, and Fox was over there, F Company, battalion, 3 companies. And we were advancing like that. We got up to the top, turned left towards Suribachi. We got perhaps maybe 100 feet, and we held up, it got dark. And so we dug in, used what foxholes were there made by the Air Force, or we dug in. You didn't sleep. You couldn't sleep. You'd have a bayonet stuck in you. We had sometimes it was always 2 of us, unless you're alone, and I was alone advancing Suribachi. And I had my flamethrower. You never take that thing off when you're on the line. You just don't do it. And they were spread across the neck like that, Marines. And they would, during the night, blow whistles, blow trumpets. And here they would come, and we'd get ready. We'd always have hand grenades ready. I had a K-bar. I stuck that K-bar there in case I couldn't use my rifle, and we'd be ready for them. Well, they came at us. We killed easily 300. And they got a few of us. That's the way it was every night on Iwo Jima. I don't know how in the world they ever held out like that, but they did. When we got towards the base the next morning, I remember we went into a sort of a ravine. I only had one left, and he came with me. Bob Mueller was his name. And he was on my right side, and when we moved in, I saw a pillbox there, and there, but I didn't see the one back here. There was a sort of a mound of dirt there. And 2 Japanese soldiers came out running to me. They were gonna grab me. They knew I didn't see them. Bob saw them, and he says, "Graves, look out," and he bang, he killed both. I stumbled and fell. I turned and tripped over my foot. And he reached down and grabbed me and dragged me out of harm's way. We didn't know if there were going to be more coming out or not. That was as close as I came to getting killed. It was raining that night, but I sat up there at a ledge and I looked out from Mount Suribachi. I've got a picture of it. And there's all these ships out there, massive. It was unbelievable. While I'm watching, way off in the distance, a large explosion, and a kamikaze plane, suicide plane, hit the fantail of the Bismarck Sea that went down with 327 Navy boys. I saw that happen, but it was off in the distance. It rained almost every night, misty. That is the end of the tropic, Iwo Jima. It can be cold, it can be hot. And it rained almost every night. And it's a misty rain. It's not a heavy rain. It'll come, you don't even hear a thunder or anything. It just starts. That's what happens. Then it stops. We all had ponchos. You throw that poncho around us. It was miserable. Your weapon was all soaked with water. The 3rd day, we were fighting on Iwo Jima, Mount Suribachi. We fought our way up the mountain. It was terrible. They threw hand grenades down. We couldn't throw them back. We couldn't throw ours. And a patrol got up on top. They fought their way there. They killed a few Japanese up there. We were climbing up through the middle. When we got to the top, they're putting up the first flag. And what they put it up on was a drain pipe. I don't know what they tied that flag on with. They weren't prepared for this. We knew nothing about a flag. That was our battalion commander that started that, with that flag. Well, Rosenthal came up, and a buddy of mine, Rene Gagnon, the runner to Colonel Harry Liversedge, he had a bigger flag, gave it to Rene, who was his runner, he was his runner, take this to Johnson, tell him to get that flag up and take that first one down. He said, yes, sir. He ran all the way up there to Johnson. Told Johnson, Johnson said, all right, go up to Schreier, tell him to take it down, and I want it back before some Marine steals it. They put the bigger one up. Rosenthal, two or three different boys, and we're all watching it. You know, as far as I'm concerned, anybody that fought on Iwo Jima, and that goes for part of the Navy that were rifling in right in there before we came and softened that place up, that goes for the Air Corps that bombed the heck out of that place. Everyone that was involved with Iwo Jima put that flag up because we couldn't have done it otherwise. It's all teamwork. You fight in teamwork. That's the success of the Marine Corps. Everything is done in teamwork. That's the way we fought. And that's the story of the flag. What happened was when we saw it, we all, whoa, we cheered. Every ship out in that water, 500 that knew about it and saw it, let go with their horns, let go with tracers in there. It was, you know what it was like? It was like the 4th of July in Hudson Bay when they have the fireworks. Massive fireworks. Everybody on the north end, we didn't do it by the island. We didn't want to let them know where we were. But on the north end, they opened up with tracers. Tracers are every fourth round. It was a spectacle. It was beautiful. But what it did was infuriate the Japanese, and they fought all the harder. It infuriated them. Well, we secured Mount Suribachi. We hung around there overnight. We were bombed that night. Never been bombed before, and I don't want to have it again. I bounced off the ground, one hit close, and when I got back, settled down, blood came out of my nose. It was shock, I guess, I don't know, but I said, I'm hit. My two buddies said, you're not hit, that's shock. They had been in it before. And I said, oh, and I wiped the blood off. Well, it was raining, but they made that final try of bombing us. It was probably a final hurrah, I guess. Ineffective. If you look at it from the air, which we saw pictures from the air, and you look at the model, it looks kind of big, but it's only 8 square miles. And it has a neck, Suribachi, a neck, then spreads out like a pork chop, just like a pork chop on your plate. That's the way it is. They call it the pork chop. And it was scary. There was just something scary about it. That's the only way I can describe Iwo Jima, but I know this. Tarawa was 2 square miles. It took 2,000 Marines in 2 days. It ended. Ours took 7,000 in 6 weeks. And 20,000 wounded, taken off the island. We don't know how many were buried at sea. So there, we settled down at Suribachi. Our job was to go across the neck, go up the left side to the north, and secure that. The 4th took the airstrips. Mr. Roosevelt wanted those airstrips fixed right away. The B-29s were leaving Saipan, flying over Iwo Jima into Tokyo, 600 miles, and the Japanese would notify Japan that they're on their way. They'd shoot them down. Corsairs, our Navy, they could not make it with the gas. So they were all alone. When we took the island and secured the airstrips, if they got shot up, they had a place to land, and the P-51s, when they came from Saipan, would go up in the air and take them to Tokyo and bring them back. Had enough gas. Here's the tough one. When we hit Hill 362A the next day towards evening, we lost our battalion at Hill 362A. Every Marine knows about it on that island. They'll know. We retreated, believe it or not. We don't like to use that word. We use the word pull back for a better formation. We pulled back. We got on the old man, the battalion commander's phone, and we told him what happened. He said, can you boys make it back here to the CP? And we said, sure, we could. Come on back here. We'll reconnoiter. Come on back. So we went back. We formed a little line around the camp there. The Japanese came out and went around the mountain and moved around this way and came at us in the CP. We weren't ready for it. They came in screaming, just screaming crazy. And we opened up the best we could. We killed almost every one of them. They did the same thing at the air base when the Army came in and took over the bases after they were made and ready for the B-29s. .362A was another observation for them from the top. It had a massive mortar in there. When it hit, it just tore things apart. It damaged a lot. The general, Kuribayashi, the Japanese general, he knew that we were going to spread out and come to the north from Suribachi because that's the concentration of good firepower. He knew that he was smart. He knew we were going to move up that. There's no other way we could do it. And so that's why they fortified that place. That thing would come up in the air and it was just like this. We could watch it. They could launch it on the island in front of them. They could launch it out to the ships. The next morning we went back to it and started all over again. They must have retreated to the north because we didn't get much resistance. That morning another fellow came up to me and he said, Don, he said, we got to go up, close that thing in. I said, let's do it. Took my flamethrower off. I knew demolition. So we took a shaped charge along. We took everything we needed, a 5-gallon can of gasoline, primer cord. We had a rope to lower it and swing it in that cave and set her off. So we crawled up a bank like this, going up to it. Everything is over here, us. While we're crawling, a tank moves up, ours, and opens up on us. They thought we were Japanese. 50 calibers would go right over my back, right by my, it would fall down on me, hit the bank and burn the tracers. I said, we've had it. You got a white cloth? I don't have a thing. He said, I haven't got anything. We just hunkered down tight. Someone must have told him, friendly, and he stopped firing. Oh, I sure wanted to see that guy. Well, we moved up to the top of 362A, and I looked across the top level. We counted roughly 50 dead Japanese that the Air Force had killed up there. As we were crawling over to the mouth, I looked and I saw 2 Japanese, quite a ways off, run. They were monkeying around and they were running and they launched one. Came out. I said, I just found it. He said, what did you find? I told him, hell, get on the horn and tell him. So I told our company commander, Lieutenant Armstrong, I just saw the rocket come out of a cave. Where is it? And I told him, I gave him the estimation that I could. The Navy started launching 16 inches, 12 inches, and blow that thing all to pieces. Well, they didn't hurt that darn rocket, but they killed everybody, and they tore that place apart. Well, we crawled over these bodies, went to the mouth. Our boys were down there. We tied that 5-gallon can. We put a primer cord around it, put a fuse on it, anchored to that, and I had a rope, and I would shove that rope like that and lower it down, and he'd guide it. So when he said, that's enough. So he'd start swinging that can of gas. And like that, we set it off, kabooey! Fire would blow out of that thing. If they were in there, they were killed, but I think they all went to the north, underground. We never heard anything after that. Then we took the shape charge like a cone, like a beehive cone shape, and we set that on, blew the top right in on it. As I got about halfway to the north, we got held up for about a day and a half. And I'm in a foxhole with 2 machine gun squatters. We don't have any men. The 3 of us are together. And I got something on the walkie-talkie, and I said, yo, I said, Graves. They said, Graves, be on the lookout for snipers. I said, we don't have any sniper problem. We're sitting here. He said, we do it Company CP, which is up back of us. He said, First Sergeant took around his legs so they know where we're at. Be on the lookout. So I took my glasses and I got up on the ledge, my arms on the elbow, looking across. I didn't care. We didn't care anymore. And I'm looking like this here and I can't see. I'm just about 15 minutes. So I slide back down, get on the horn. I said, Graves, Company CP, yo, no snipers, keep looking. By the way, you got a kid coming for your replacement. I said, good, we can use him. So I hung up. This kid rolled over in the hole. He said, who's Graves? I said, I am. He said, what do you want? He said, what do you want me to do? I said, sit down over there. Be a lot to do tonight. He sat there, and then he saw me take my glasses. I said, I guess I got to go up there. He said, let me look, Graves. Now you get yourself shot. So my two buddies were sitting there, give him the glasses. That's what he's here for. So I threw him the glasses. He got up right where I had been. And we're sitting there, we're talking, Marine talk. He fell back. Helmet fell off and spun by my feet. When it stopped, I looked down on the net, and there was a picture of a beautiful girl sitting in a chair. And in her lap was a baby. I lost it. I just threw everything off me and jumped up. I went crazy. My buddy got up, slapped me in the face, and threw me on the ground. I lay there. I got up after everything's over with, put my gear back on, did what we were supposed to do. I got on the horn and said, your replacement just took a round between the eyes. I said, he's dead here. They'll come and get him, but we're moving to another hole. They said 10-4, and that's what we did. I'll never forget that. He took my place. When we retreated back to the battalion, I mentioned that, something happened I forgot. We were in a hole, and this Japanese soldier evidently had a bag, a pouch with grenades in it. And he was nuts, he was crazy. He was mumbling, he was dropping hand grenades all over, and I don't know how he knew where we were, but he knew we were in that hole, and he threw one, and it came on the top of the hole and rolled down 3 of us. This one replacement was the oldest man in our outfit. I said, grenade! And when you yell grenade, you move. You're on your own, you jump. We all cleared. His one leg didn't quite get out and it took his foot off, his leg, right up to here. And it was hanging by the skin. We jumped up, we yelled for a stretcher bearer. They came, they got him on it, and his leg is off to the side. And I said, buddy, and I started crying. I said, I'm sorry, I'm really, he said, Don, don't worry about it, I'm going home. But he didn't know his leg was off, his foot was off. I know that. He didn't feel it, he was numb. We were heading towards the north. We're in a foxhole, of course. We're sitting there all day, just watching. They come at us at night with bonsai charges because they were getting down to low. I said, I'm going to make hot chocolate. Well, my two buddies said, go and make enough for 3 of us. I said, sure. So we chipped our D-bars together, chocolate bars, and I diced it all up. I made hot chocolate, canteen cup, had our water. I had demolition, so I lit demolition underneath. Beautiful. And it's starting to cook, and you can smell it. It was beautiful. But I failed to realize that that travels. And it traveled to the Japanese from here out by the parking lot. Never thought it would happen. Hey, Marine, very good chocolatto. You bring chocolatto here. I got up and I said, if you want chocolatto, you come and get chocolate. Oh, no, you bring here. That's the kind of humor you had in combat on Iwo Jima. Those boys were just as crazy as we were. I developed a stone bruise in my heel. I couldn't walk on my foot. So they sent me down to the medics. So I walked down there and I went in, they put me in a tent, worked on my foot, bandaged it up, and that night a group of Japanese came around again and they hit that camp of the Army, the Air Force. And I lay in that tent. Now, you never lose your rifle. That rifle's, well, you sleep with it, practically. And I went for my rifle. I couldn't find it. They took the rifle. They should never have done that. They took my rifle. I was no weapon. I had a 45 on my side, but that, to me, with me, that gun is useless. Well, we could hear screaming, yelling outside. Then all of a sudden, quiet. They killed every one of them. They did a good job. Twice they tried to do that. The 4th Division captured the airfields, cleared them. The CBs hit the beach with us for the first time. They had to get in there and get those airstrips. They said they would never do it again. They would come in after it's secured. They got hit bad. And they're not trained to be real fighters. They're carpenters, builders, machinists. They would not do it again. I saw the first wounded B-29 land. I was in the middle of the island, and I heard this roaring. You could see on Iwo, it's like this. And if you're here, you can see on both sides. Just kind of hunker up, keep your head down, and look. And I stood up and I looked, and here comes this B-29, and it's really coughing. Got it off the runway for the next one, returning from Japan. That's why that island had to be taken. It shortened the war. B-29s could go right to Japan and blow the living daylights out of it. If we hadn't have taken Iwo, wouldn't have happened. Wouldn't have happened. Towards the last week, it was kind of dull, and we didn't hear any planes. We had Corsairs, Marine Corsairs, Navy pilots. We didn't have them. I kind of stood up a little bit and looked down, and every ship was gone. Nobody around, nobody. But down the airport, the Air Force was there. But no ships, they were gone. Well, we didn't know about Okinawa. They had left. They did all they could do. They moved on to Okinawa. That was a lonely feeling, because we didn't know about Okinawa until the day we got off the island. We didn't know why they left us. We were at the north end. If we went any further, we'd run them in the water. But they wouldn't come anymore at night, so we knew that they hunkered down there. That was for some patrols to come in and take care of the situation. So I guess the old man thought, we've got to get off of here and let other people do their job. So we were released by the 3rd Division. The 4th Division was relieved, because we had fought all the way through that thing, but that was still not controlled until at least a couple weeks after. They had to mop up on that. When we moved through. We shot the heck out of it and moved. There could have been some left. We don't know. We went down to the cemetery at the base of Mount Suribachi. The old man was there, regimental commander. My battalion commander took a 105 howitzer right behind him, a short round from one of our kids. Blew him all to pieces, and the CP. Lost him. So the old man from regiment, he ordered us. He said, men, I want you to go in file, and I want you to walk through that cemetery. And I want you to say goodbye to your buddies and your officers. Then we'll board the crafts and go on our transport, go back to Hawaii. We said, yes, sir. One by one, we walked through that. Now, I'm speaking for the 5th Division, but it was that way because we lost 7,000 kids on that island. 20,000 shot up and taken off. We walked through one by one through that gate. On the left arch of the gate, there was a paper tacked. And every Marine looked at it, read, and walked in. When I got to it, this is what that paper said. Fellas, when you go home, tell the folks we did our best, that they may have many more tomorrows. Lost it, every one of us. We walked through, and I saw 3 buddies of mine went to school, We all quit school. I saw my officers. We walked out, got down to the water, got aboard a craft. They took us to our transports. Up the net we went on board ship, and the sailors met us at the top of the net on the side. And when we got in, they'd look at us. One kid said, "Hey, Graves, yo, good to see you." I said, "Well, good to see you too." He said, "What's wrong with your eyes?" I said, "What? What's wrong?" "Well, they're on fire." He said, "All of your eyes?" I said, "We haven't had any sleep." "We haven't had any sleep." "You couldn't sleep, you'd be dead." 6 weeks. We never brushed our teeth. We never put water on our face. We never changed socks. We cut off of what we'd hit the beach with. That's the way it was. You could not take time to do that. We wanted to sleep, and we just went over and flopped. And nobody said anything. We flopped. My company, 18 of us come off out of 300, close to 300. No officers, none. No staff sergeant, we don't remember any, just corporals, buck sergeants, privates, just a bunch of kids. We fought that battle. Yeah. Excuse me, may I rephrase that?
Sure, absolutely.
As the greatest generation, we fought that battle.